we had a guest on that she was telling her story, Naila Ellis Brown, founder of Ellis Isle Teas, which I just ordered 2 cases of while we were on the air because I love sorrel. And it's Jamaican sorrel, sweetened with cane, with raw, what she call it, wet sugar, cane sugar, and also I got the unsweetened, a case of unsweetened. But she was talking about dropping out of school because what she had calculated that by the end of her Howard stay, she would be $100,000 in debt. She had a plan to go work at Wall Street, major in business, and then eventually follow her dream of being an entrepreneur. So she just cut out the $100,000 in debt at 19, dropped out of school, and now she's the number one beverage producer in the country, Black woman, beverage producer. And I was like, that's amazing. But I was thinking, so many people during this pandemic have followed their dreams and are in, this entrepreneurial mode, and that left us with a shortage. We don't have a lot of people who want to go to work anymore.
Yeah.
What is that going to look like? This is not sustainable. We can't sustain a society if people aren't working in industries like the restaurant industry, hospitality, and hotels. Folks don't want to turn down your bed and put a mint on it. No one wants to do that anymore if they can freak their own situation and be entrepreneurs, or stay home and collect some of this nice, the child money and all of the money that the government has been free to give out, which Janet Yellen was like, we're going to be heading for a brick wall in October if we don't get our debt act together. But I see it, we have a truck driver shortage, which means we're not getting our products. Yep. There's longshoremen short. I mean, there's like jobs that people will probably never go back to, that we absolutely need to sustain ourselves as a society. How does this work?
Karen, we're studying that phenomenon right now at LinkedIn. So I'm gonna have some data on it for you pretty soon here. But what we do know already is anecdotally exactly what you said. There are a lot of people in the workforce who are never going back to the jobs that they used to have, particularly people and in service roles where they have now had enough time to see the fact that not only have they been underpaid, excuse me, for the work that they've been doing, but they're now demanding that, like, I will no longer do that same job that I used to do for $12 an hour. If there's only way you can get me back is to pay me $15, $16, $17 an hour, companies are going to have to figure it out. Listen, I mean, if you think about the fact that if people are talking about, well, people not going back to work, that, I can't believe that they're taking advantage of the system. I can't believe that these people don't want to work. It's not that people don't want to work. It's that people have had their eyes open to how they have been indentured to companies and working, ridiculous amounts of work for small amounts of money. If you're in a situation where the government assistance is as much or more than you have been getting paid for 48 plus hours of labor every week, and you make the decision that I clearly need to go off and do something different from what I've done before, the villain in that story is not the government. And the villain in that story is not the employee that decided that they're not going to go back and work for that amount of money again, right? And so you can't think that after all that has happened to people collectively and individually, that they're going to go back to life as it was before. It's a new normal. Things have changed. People are doing things differently. I think that you got to look at what this story also means for us, people listening to Urban View, for Black folks, right? Black women have the highest labor participation of any women in this country. Take that in for a second.
What does that mean?
Labor participation. So if you're not an economist, labor participation means that of all of the people who are actively working in the job market, who are working either part-time or full-time, Black women on the whole have the highest labor participation. There are more Black women getting up, going to work every day than any other group of women in this country. That Black women have a higher labor participation than white women, than Hispanic women, than Asian women, than Indigenous women across the board, right? So there are more Black women per by population, more Black women are actively working in the workforce. And therefore, when you take a look at unemployment, when you hear those unemployment numbers that say that Black unemployment at right now is almost 10%, that hits Black women and Black households in a way that is completely different from what is happening for everybody else, right? Because Black women are not only working for themselves, they're also working for their families. Whether they're head of household or they are with a partner, Black households depend on those dollars that are being made by Black women. So we have to talk to our congressional leaders, we have to talk to our state leaders, our local leaders, that we can't end pandemic aid when the numbers for everyone goes up. We have to keep pandemic aid going until the numbers for Black and Hispanic people go up, right? Specifically, because we have been in times in the past where people stop looking at the economy and the hit that the economy or the recession has had when the collective number goes up. You have to look at the number for Black folks. Until our number goes up, we have to keep the pressure on our elected officials. I had this conversation this weekend. I got a chance to talk to both of my state senators from the state of Georgia at a 9/11 memorial that happened here in Atlanta. And I said to both of my two state senators, we need the pressure kept on. There are 25 states led by Republican governors that have already ended government assistance for the pandemic before the September deadline. They've already ended it. They ended it before the deadline. And so this is a clear and present situation. It's not that people aren't going back. And there are a lot of people who are going out and remixing it. Again, let's talk about Black women again. Black women are starting businesses at a higher rate than their white counterparts. 17% of Black women are starting new businesses compared to 10% of white women and 15% of white men. They're starting new businesses. Black women just have to have a different business model for long-term success than their white counterparts, because by and large, Black women start these businesses with their own personal money. Whereas their white counterparts are starting these businesses with other people's money.